Hello, you guys. Okay, so it's been a couple weeks since I've done a coaching call, and I feel like I haven't heard from you in forever. So, some of you started week 13, and if you saw the very first video before you're supposed to do the workouts, it said to check in and kind of let me know what you're doing and then what your goals are for the next 3 months, at least 3 top goals, because I want you to kind of refocus and reset them and have something to work forward to in the next 3. So whether you didn't hit maybe some of your goals in the last 3, or you can add those to this one, or you can make totally new ones. They can be anything that motivates you to keep going. If you're not on week 13, don't worry about that yet, just keep pushing. I'm going to do a coaching call this week and then the week after next, so that this way you guys, that was kind of the plan from the beginning, but then when we first started I was doing them back to back. But I also think doing them every other week allows people to catch up on the coaching calls that they missed, so I want that to happen as well. Today we're going to talk about whether or not you need supplements and intermittent fasting. So intermittent fasting is something that's very popular right now, and you probably have heard a lot about it. Maybe you don't really understand it. I actually saw a few posts about it just in the last week. I see it all the time, so it's something worth bringing up to you guys and talking about and explaining a little bit in terms that you can understand and, you know, just really simplifying it. But before that, I thought let's also talk about supplements, because right now it is right before the new year and things are being pushed out a lot because there's all kinds of deals and people are getting you ready for the new year. And so companies and trainers and stuff like that, people are really wanting you to buy their products, and so they're pushing them out right now. And so maybe you're wondering, hey, I'm not sure that I saw the progress that I wanted to in my weight in the last few months or a year, and so maybe I need those supplements. And if those people use them, I think they look great. I want their kind of progress, so maybe I should look into that. And so let's talk about whether or not you need them. You guys know me, I'll always go back to talking about your nutrition and how much you're moving every week being the most important part, and that is because it's the truth. There's no fighting that, there's no swaying from it. So the question of you needing supplements is not, you don't need supplements, but that's not to say you can't take them or that they might not benefit you in some way. I want everyone to always know that you can make progress with burning more calories that you're taking in if your goal is weight loss. If you're trying to gain muscle, then you're technically trying to gain weight. You're going to be eating over what you're taking in, and if you're just trying to stay where you're at, you're trying to eat the same amount as you're burning weekly. So again, that's going to go to your nutrition and it's going to go to your movement every week. So you don't need anything extra, ever. So if you don't want to spend money and you feel like maybe that's what you needed and that's why you're not seeing progress, that's not the case. If you haven't been seeing progress in a little while, or seen, fat loss or seeing progress, then the first thing to really look at is how much you're really eating. It might be true that you're making better choices, but you might not still be realizing how much you're eating and that it's affecting your progress. And so on week 7, I think if you go to week 7 is where I put how you can calculate your calories. And if you really have been feeling like frustrated that you're not seeing something change, but you feel like you're putting the work out, it might be time to go to that and see, at least for 2 weeks. Give yourself at least 1 week to kind of see where you've been eating, and then the next week to kind of reel it in into like what the goal says that you should be at for your specific goal, for your calories and your food. So if you're not feeling like you're seeing the progress that you want to, it might be time to do that. Now, a couple weeks ago, I think somebody said, I haven't really been seeing the number drop, but I'm still being consistent, so I'm just going to be being patient. Sometimes, just because your body is used to what you've been doing as far as pushing yourself and eating, it's going to be normal that sometimes you won't lose weight. We've talked about this a few times. I'll always remind you, you're not going to be always constantly losing weight, especially after you've been doing a program for a while. But if you want to tweak that a little bit, it's been a while and you haven't seen it dropping, you can tweak it. But I want to remind you too, there's a difference between fat loss and weight loss. So you might actually be losing fat and you might also be gaining muscle, and that might also be why you're seeing a plateau, but things are still changing. Sometimes when you get to that point when you're frustrated, like, I've been doing really good, being really consistent, I'm not seeing changes, and that might be a time where you feel like you need to give up or look elsewhere. It's actually when you just need to keep pushing forward, and within like 2 weeks or so, you'll start seeing that change again. But sometimes it's tweaking those calories just a little bit again, just a little bit. You don't have to go crazy, and adding more. So like in this 2.0 from week 13 on. We're adding just a little bit of plyometrics or a little bit of cardio into your days just to get your heart rate up, pushing you just a little bit more. That's going to push you a little bit farther. That's going to push the needle a little bit farther. So all of those things are something that you can do before you even look to supplements. Supplements are just that. They're supplements, you guys. So vitamins, protein, BCAAs. I don't like talking about fat burners. We'll get to that at the end, but fat burners are definitely not needed if you're not doing this stuff consistently and seeing how your body handles it first. But it's the same with everything else. So the only kind of supplements I usually take, of course, are like maybe daily, like women's vitamins, just to make sure. But when you think about it, they're supplements. They're supplementing something that you're missing in your daily routine. So really, if you go into your diet and you are doing pretty well, eating pretty whole foods, you're eating the right amount, and you are feeling like you're fueled, you probably don't need extra supplements. Your body's still going to be doing what it needs to do. But if for some reason, like you go to the doctor and they say you're deficient in iron, or that your body's not producing something, or you're maybe not recovering very well, and so a lot of the time that means you need more protein in your diet, but you feel like you can't have 1 more ounce of protein or meat or something and you feel full, maybe a protein shake would be a good idea. Typically, when I have something, it is a protein shake at the gym. I actually had one this morning. I hadn't ate yet, and I did my workout, and I didn't feel like I could wait till I got home, so I took the protein shake. Because I was also shaky and stuff, my body was saying it needed those nutrients that I've depleted back in my body. But I might not eat protein shakes normally because I'm getting enough throughout my diet. And the same thing is for you guys. If you're getting enough of these things throughout your diet, you don't need them. So BCAAs also give you nutrients and vitamins to replenish your body. But do you need it? Probably not, unless you're not eating enough of the right things. So enough vegetables and fruits and carbs and all of those things that give your body energy. If you're still feeling like this lack of energy, or you're having a hard time recovering, but you've been doing a really good job sticking to your goals consistently, then that's when you might add a supplement in. But is it ever needed? No. Unless the doctor says that you have some kind of deficiency, or you've been doing it consistently for a very long time and you're still having a hard time with recovery or seeing some kind of change that you think you could have through these supplements, then you can do it. But other than that, I would say, again, really check and see how you're really doing with your food intake and all of that. And if you do have questions, you think like, Brenda, actually, I feel like I have been doing this really consistently for this long, and then we can talk about it and then we can decide like if you need something. But for the most part, I think a lot of the time people just need to go back and check and see where they're really at with their food intake. So that's why, especially with fat burners, I don't push them. A lot of the time what happens is your metabolism gets changed, and then as soon as you stop taking the fat burners, you start seeing like that stall, and then afterwards you might even have a harder time losing body fat doing the things that, eating less and burning more, and because your metabolism got messed with a little bit when you're taking the fat burners, but then it's now not knowing how to do its job when you stop taking it. So that's why I'm not really a fan of those. Sometimes I get really disappointed because even like right now, my favorite fitness couple that sells supplements, and they're really good and honest, they started selling it, and I know that they're going to promote it and tell people like you don't need it unless you're doing all of the things, but some people will still get the fat burner thinking that's going to be the end all be all, and it's not. So supplements, again, it's a supplement. It's when you are missing something in your diet. So even right now, gut health is very popular. Probiotics are a good thing to have in your diet. Prebiotic is good as well, but like, do you need the whole system? It's actually a fairly new concept. It's actually something that doesn't have enough studies out there to say one thing is right, or that it's all right or wrong. I listened to a whole podcast with a doctor last week on it, just because, it's always good to learn about these things. And my friend is a dietitian who is an official person that you should ask for nutrition advice from, is a dietitian when it comes to things like that. And she said gut health is important when it comes to like stress and things like that, but is it going to help you lose weight? No, it's still the same thing. It's always going to be calories in, calories out, but it is not a bad idea to have a probiotic, she said. But she said same thing. It's always going to come back to first make sure you're even eating a whole food diet and you're eating the right amount for your body before you ever need to feel like you need to go spend money on a whole system for it. And so that's another kind of a supplement that you might have questions on because it is popular right now. And so again, if you know you haven't been super consistent with these things, let yourself be really consistent with them before you feel like you have to spend more money or change up your routine in that way. Most of the time it's more simple than that. Simple, right? Going back to the basics of those things. If you have questions about those or any certain type of supplement you've seen or something you've been thinking about taking, go ahead and ask me. If I don't know the answer, I'll make sure to look it up for you or ask my friend that's a dietitian. She's actually the person that made a lot of the food lists for this group, and I would love to have her start maybe doing some stuff in here like next year. Even if it was like one coaching call every once in a while so that you guys could ask her all your food questions. I haven't told her that. She's not a social media person, so we'll see if she does it, but I think I could talk her into it. But other than that, the next one I want to talk about was intermittent fasting because it is something you hear a lot. It's even something that Javier brings up all the time. He's been doing it where he doesn't eat till 11 o'clock and then he feels good, he feels energized, and you'll hear all these things. We don't have to get into the really sciencey part of it because I don't want to lose you guys on it, but basically intermittent fasting is fasting for a certain amount of time, like say 10 to 14 hours, maybe 16 hours, for including your sleep time, and then you wait. So basically you're waiting till a lot later in the day to eat. And so basically you're eating sometimes and you're not eating sometimes, and they say that this helps boost your metabolism and all this stuff. Well, it's always, again, going back into your calories in versus calories out. So 3 things to know about it is that it can work for you just for the same reasons that any other diets might work for a certain person but not work for everybody else. But at the end of the day, it's not the end all be all. It's not the best way. It's not the only way. It's not like this miracle cure, right? It can be great because it could work better for your schedule and habits. So again, when it comes down to it, what you're really doing when it's a good idea is like the reason that I think it's working for Javier mentally is because he's been eating less food because he's trying to lose weight. And so in that time, he doesn't eat until about 11:30, and then he eats until like 8 o'clock at night. Like that's his window to eat. And since he has less calories, but he didn't start eating till that time, you feel like you're not hungry by the end of the day because he gets to eat those amount of calories in that little amount of time, smaller amount of time, rather than eating at like 5 o'clock in the morning until 8, and then eating his calories maybe say by 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, and then he's starving at 8 because that's just how it works, right? He still has all those hours to eat. So what really is happening for most people is they get to eat later and they're trying to cut their calories, so it just feels nicer and more energetic than having to like space out their food or like being so conscious of it for like 12 hours a day. There is, however, health benefits to fasting, but it doesn't have to do with weight loss. It's mental clarity and your body recenters itself and kind of things that feel maybe a little wooey, but they're not. It's like science-based where, like I said, we could get really deep into that, and maybe sometime I will talk about fasting, but it's definitely not something that you have to do for a long amount of time. So another thing, the next number 2 to know is if you are going to try it out or you have been trying it out, it's a good idea to start with a smaller window. So like after bedtime, maybe a couple hours instead of eating right away. But again, it's not going to make your fat loss any faster than just eating that amount of calories every day. What it's really doing is helping you with being able to eat that smaller amount of calories that you have and not feel so hungry by the end of the day. If anything is a benefit from it, that's it. And people will fight tooth and nail to say it's all of the other stuff behind it, and then that's not true. It's always going to be calories in versus calories out, whether it has to do with your hormones and all of this stuff. Like having thyroid problems and stuff like that does slow down your metabolism, and it does make it a little harder for it to work hard for you, but it still always matters the amount of calories you're taking in for certain changes to your diet and certain changes to helping with your thyroid and stuff like that, which the thyroid issues have nothing to do with intermittent fasting, but I'm just saying to keep that in mind. Even with issues like that, even with gut health, even with hormones, it still doesn't matter what those things are saying it does to your mood and your energy and stuff like that, that's not what affects your weight loss at the end of the day. It is your calories in versus calories out. So if you have been thinking about doing intermittent fasting and you can wait till later in the day to eat, that's great. I'm going to tell you this right now. Javier was like, you should do it with me, but I can't wait till 11:30 to eat, especially because I usually work out in the morning nowadays, and I'm going to be super crabby. So again, it's going to come back to what works best for you and your schedule. So maybe instead of eating right in the morning, so I don't eat at like 4:30 because that's when I wake up, but I'll eat when my workout's done at 8:30 or 8 or whatever. And so if I do that, it's still a little bit later than I was doing, and I still have a little shorter window to fit my less calories into, and I still do feel much better. So it gives me that energy. I don't feel so like deprived by the end of the day. So you have to base it off of that with you as well. Like, do you feel deprived? Do you feel crabby waiting that long? Do you feel like, no, I need to eat, I always have? That's fine. So if the intermittent fasting works for you, that's great, and works for your schedule and works for the way that you feel, that's perfect. But just remember, at the end of the day, it's still what calories you're trying to fit into that window. And that's what's promoting the fat loss. But you could eat that same amount of calories in a longer window throughout your day, and you'll still be getting the same results weight loss wise or fat loss wise as you would shortening that window. So I hope that makes sense. Let me know if I lost you, or if you have further questions for it, or further questions on the supplements. I have missed doing the coaching calls with you guys. But no matter what, even if you don't have questions or thoughts, just let me know, hey, I watched this, because you still get points for participating. So don't forget about that, you guys. I want to know that you're catching up on these, and I hope that you guys catch up on them no matter what. Like I said in the post yesterday, the coaching calls are for you guys to learn more about food and nutrition and motivation and the mental work behind letting this be a lifestyle change and letting it be something that lasts for life. And so I know the workouts and stuff are helpful in reaching your goals, but I really think that when we have these talks and I can teach you guys the truth about things and the whys behind the why behind everything, that it's something that can help you guys be able to keep your head straight forward and just keep moving forward for the rest of your life, even if you have times where you had to slow down or even stop working out, that you can keep all of this stuff in mind for your diet and your mindset, and then be able to move forward. So have a great day, you guys. I'll be hopping on again the week after next. So if you guys have any questions or specific things you'd like me to talk about, then I'll know what to talk about on the next coaching call. Otherwise, obviously, I'll come up with something. But have a great day, you guys. Nice job getting through everything. Keep pushing yourself. Talk to you later.